A Pact with Darkness. The murders of Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman. In the early hours of June 6, 2020, the tranquil Friant Country Park in London became the site of a heinous crime that shocked the nation. Two sisters, Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman, were brutally murdered by an 18-year-old man named Daniel Hussein. His chilling claim? That he had made a blood pact with a demon, promising to kill women in exchange for wealth, power, and a lavish life. This murder, described by authorities as particularly brutal and premeditated, not only raised questions about the nature of online radicalization and occult influences, but also about the dark thoughts that can fester in the minds of vulnerable individuals. The story that emerged in the wake of the murders is one that draws a terrifying line between fantasy and violence, with real-life consequences that have forever impacted the families and communities involved. The victims. Biba Henry, 46, and her younger sister, Nicole Smallman, 27, had close family ties and shared a love for life. Biba worked as a senior social worker, dedicating much of her professional life to helping vulnerable children and families. Her colleagues described her as empathetic, thoughtful, and dedicated, always going above and beyond in her work to make the lives of others better. Nicole, a freelance photographer, was known for her vivacious personality and talent behind the camera. Her art was her passion, and her vibrant nature made her a beloved figure in her community. On June 5, 2020, the two sisters gathered with friends to celebrate Biba's 46th birthday at Friant Country Park. They chose the park because of its scenic beauty and peaceful atmosphere, ideal for a casual celebration. As the night wore on, their friends eventually left, but Biba and Nicole decided to stay behind. The park's natural beauty under the stars made it the perfect backdrop for the sisters to take photos and dance together. It was a carefree night, one that would tragically turn into a nightmare. The crime. In the early hours of June 6, 2020, Daniel Hussein, a then 18-year-old high school student, approached the sisters as they sat alone in the park. Hussein, who had previously shown interest in the occult, was carrying a knife. What unfolded next was an act of unspeakable brutality. Armed with the blade, Hussein attacked the sisters without warning. He stabbed them repeatedly in a frenzied assault, leaving them with multiple stab wounds across their bodies. The attack was so violent that it was clear that Hussein had intended to cause as much harm as possible. After he had killed them, Hussein dragged their bodies into a wooded area and concealed them under foliage in an attempt to hide the crime. He left the park, assuming the bodies would not be discovered. The viciousness of the attack and the apparent lack of remorse made it clear that this was not a crime of passion, but one rooted in calculation and disturbing beliefs. The investigation. As hours passed and the sisters did not return home, their loved ones became alarmed. Nicole's boyfriend initiated a search and eventually located their bodies in the park. The authorities were called, and a police investigation began. Forensic evidence soon pointed to Daniel Hussein as the perpetrator. A blood-stained knife was found near the scene of the crime, and DNA analysis confirmed that it belonged to Hussein. When detectives searched Hussein's home, they uncovered a series of disturbing handwritten notes. In these notes, Hussein detailed a pact he had made with a demon named Lucifuge Rofokal. This pact, written in his own blood, promised to grant him wealth and power in exchange for committing murder. He had even written that he intended to kill 6 women every 6 months, believing that this would grant him the fortune he desired. Hussein's belief in this dark and twisted bargain with the demon was chilling, and it became evident that he had meticulously planned the murders in order to fulfill his promise. The trial. Hussein's trial at the Old Bailey was a harrowing process for the families of the victims. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence against him, including his written confession and the gruesome crime scene. Despite this overwhelming evidence, Hussein showed no remorse throughout the trial. He denied responsibility for the killings and instead attempted to justify his actions by citing his belief in the demon and the pact he had made. His claims were not only delusional, but also an attempt to absolve himself of personal responsibility. Further investigations revealed that Hussein had previously been referred to the government's PREVENT program, which was designed to intervene and prevent radicalization. He had accessed far-right and satanic material online, which may have played a role in his descent into violent extremism. Despite being flagged for his disturbing online activity, Hussein was not considered a significant threat at the time, a tragic oversight that highlighted the failure of preventive measures in identifying individuals who could potentially commit acts of violence. In July 2021, Hussein was convicted of the murders of Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman. The court described the murders as savage and brutal, emphasizing the calculated and remorseless nature of his actions. In October 2021, Hussein was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 35 years. The judge acknowledged the chilling premeditation of the crime and Hussein's lack of empathy, stressing that his belief in the occult was no excuse for his barbaric actions. Aftermath and public reaction. The murders of Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman were not only an unimaginable loss for their family, but also a tragedy that rocked the nation. The brutal nature of the crime and the twisted motivations behind it caused widespread shock and disgust. The case also brought to light troubling questions regarding the influence of online radicalization, as Hussein's immersion in far-right and satanic material appeared to have played a significant role in shaping his beliefs and actions. The Metropolitan Police came under fire for their handling of the investigation, particularly after it was revealed that 2 officers had taken and shared photographs of the victims' bodies. The photos were circulated among colleagues, leading to an internal investigation. The officers involved were subsequently disciplined, but the incident sparked outrage, particularly from the victims' family and the public. It underscored the need for systemic reforms in policing and highlighted the importance of holding officers to the highest standards of conduct. In the aftermath of the murders, the sisters' mother, Mina Smallman, a retired Church of England archdeacon, became a vocal advocate for justice and reform. She demanded accountability for the police's failure to properly handle the case and called for better training and measures to address institutional failures. Her public statements sparked a national conversation about how such tragedies could be prevented in the future and how authorities could better respond to the early warning signs of extremist ideologies and violence. Memorials and vigils were held in honor of Biba and Nicole, and the sisters became symbols of the fight for justice. The outpouring of support from the community and the public at large demonstrated a collective desire to address the deep issues surrounding violence against women, the growing influence of extremist beliefs, and the failures of law enforcement in preventing such tragedies. The call for change was loud and clear, with many demanding stronger efforts to protect women and prevent radicalization. The tragic deaths of Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman serve as a stark reminder of the dangers posed by extremist beliefs and the potential consequences of online radicalization. Daniel Hussein's actions were not just the result of personal delusions, but also the manifestation of a toxic belief system that can fester in isolation and anonymity. The case highlighted the need for vigilance in monitoring individuals who show signs of dangerous ideologies and the importance of intervention before violence can occur. This story is also one of profound loss and mourning, not just for the sisters' family, but for the broader community that was affected by their deaths. Biba and Nicole's legacy will be forever entwined with the fight for justice, the call for reform, and the determination to ensure that no other family has to experience the same heartbreaking tragedy. The outcry for change in policing, as well as for better measures to address online radicalization, is a reflection of a collective desire to prevent such horrors in the future and to protect vulnerable individuals from the influence of dark and dangerous forces. The murders of Biba and Nicole will never be forgotten, and as the years go by, their memory will continue to fuel efforts to create a safer, more just society, one that actively works to protect the innocent and hold those who threaten their safety accountable.